SteveO, you know, Ben gets mad at me for not introducing the guests properly, but I can't imagine someone who needs an introduction less than you.
Is that the intro?
That's the intro.
I love it.
I told you he should have
right.
he should have giving intros. I told you. It's unbelievable.
Terrible.
It's all good, man. I always just say, ladies and gentlemen, and then the name of the guest.
Really good.
That's it.
What kind, do you have a written bio or intro? Because you do so many live shows and stuff like that. Like, is there anything people have to introduce you with?
I always say, I do not care. Say whatever you want.
Yes.
And you're not going to offend me. You could try to offend me, and you're probably not going to be able to.
Do you find, because I know with stand-ups.
I take that back. I'm very sensitive. You could easily offend me.
What gets you?
Oh, man, what gets me? Like, I'll tell you that I really try very hard to avoid reading comments on my social media pages because it'll just mess me up, you know?
Yes.
It will just absolutely destroy my day.
Do you respond to DMs when you see them, or do you just leave them alone?
You know, when you respond to a DM, you open that door. I guess now you can restrict them afterwards, but
Yeah.
I have somebody on my payroll who one of their primary jobs is to go through my DMs so that they can alert me to anything that really does demand or deserve my attention.
Yeah, an opportunity.
Right, an opportunity or something that like really just something that's important. So I don't want to miss things that are genuinely important. I want to be alerted to them, but I just don't need to see, you know, any of the other stuff. I don't need to see chicks making themselves available to me. I don't need to see insults or any other form of negativity. You know, I don't want to do it.
I don't got a single girl in my DMs. What am I doing wrong?
I don't even know that they are in there. I know that there were some in the past, but I know that my lady genuinely appreciates the fact that I don't really mess with my DMs.
I can confirm that I don't have one woman. I'm also married, but not one woman is in my DMs. It's either very, very nice people, 99 out of 100 are great, and then one is probably calling me the K word, which is bad for Jews. I don't need to publicize it.
Okay.
But that's a popular one amongst the folks in my DMs.
Yeah, I don't think that I am a particularly polarizing. I don't think that I invite like hate on any, you know, large scale.
Yes.
I think I'm generally like, you know, I mean, like I don't think that people hate me that much, but still, there's always going to be that one comment, and it's going to mess me up.
I remember I got the times in which I've ever been caught in like some, and when I say controversy, I use that with like a very small c, right? Like
Sure.
ridiculous, and you immediately want to defend yourself, your being, your track record as a human. And the restraint of pen and tongue of it all. And me also, like, I remember a friend of mine gave me some of the best advice. He's like, remember who you're hearing from now, which is an itty bitty, micro mini, extremely small, extremely loud group of people. It's like a micro a percentage of the people who even know of you, and they just have very loud voices.
That's how the world has become. I had this one situation, which still even pops up from time to time. I would say it was the worst situation to bring on hate on like a notable level, and it was from this terrible decision I made almost 20 years ago to get this awful tattoo. It was it started out like as a conversation where we were just talking about, you know, we don't want to have kids. I don't want to have kids, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll get a tattoo of a you know, the circle with the slash going through it, you know, and like a baby, like a no baby sign.
Great.
But we're drinking and we're, you know, like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the tattoo will just say "fuck babies," you know. We keep
That's going to be
drinking.
my next one.
keep drinking. The next day, I end up with a tattoo of a guy fucking a baby.
How did we get there?
I mean, I don't know, but I know for a fact that the idea was to be crazy, like, like cross the line. I was crossing the line very deliberately. And immediately after getting the tattoo, I realized that it wasn't rad or funny or it lasted for maybe a month, and then I just blotched over it. Then my buddy Bam looked at it, he said, you should turn that black blob into an ostrich. And so then it became a guy humping an ostrich. Now it's a guy in an ostrich riding a motorcycle backwards. I mean, whatever it was, but like it would have been probably 2018. I think it was 2018 when the internet caught wind of this in my past.
How did they?
I don't know.
Was there a photo or?
There's absolutely a photo.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there's absolutely a photo. I don't know what inspired it to come up.
What is it that when we're on drugs, we go, we're going to want to remember this. Someone film it. Our worst days.
Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, it was a particularly upsetting photo. And, and it made the rounds. One day, my lady said to me, she said, Instagram is mad at you. And I was like, huh, and sure enough, like, there's just all of this, like, SteveO, like, you're a pedo. Now, like, I think that we can probably safely assume that the last thing an actual pedo would get tattooed on that would be that.
Yes.
Like but in any case, like, I like I said, I'm a sensitive guy, and just like while that was going on, and it's out there, it pops up every once in a while, and what made me think of it was what you said about how we want to defend ourselves, it was all just really upsetting. There was a point when I was like in fetal position, like inconsolable, and just powerless over it, and it's like, hey man, like, I recognize that getting that tattoo was an awful, I don't even want to call it a mistake because it was so deliberate, but it was an awful decision. If I were to go back in time, I'd certainly like to not have done that.
But this is the beauty of it all. It's like, obviously, like, how many times can you apologize for something? Like, why isn't
I don't know that I ever.
Or,
sorry for interrupting you, but I don't know that I ever apologized because the people that were, I mean, I like, it's got to be different to apologize to somebody compared to just I simply regret that I did that.
Yes.
I don't owe anybody an apology,
No,
let alone these assholes who want to, like, literally
bully you,
destroy my livelihood. That's what it felt like, a really not highly coordinated, but like a, like a mob. It's like a mob that wants to tear you down and destroy your livelihood. They want to do as much damage to you and your reputation as they possibly can. And that's upsetting. And I don't owe those people an apology.
No. Right.
I simply regret that decision I made so long ago. It was 2006.
What I meant to say was, how many times do people need to remind you of something that you regret? Right?
Yeah,
like,
for
you,
sure.
you for sure don't owe anybody an apology. And honestly, the way you described it, I was in tears. So
right.
Like, look.
I had a like, I don't know if I'd call it a bit, but in my first stand-up special, which I taped in 2015, but it came out in 2016, I told the whole story of it. And at the time there was nothing controversial about it. It hadn't come up into an outrage thing. I just told the story of it for what it was. And my punchline at the end was, when your cover-up tattoo is a guy fucking an ostrich, you started off with something bad.
That's good.
Yeah, and it just wasn't controversial, and then it became controversial, and yeah, I didn't like it, man. I did not like it, and I know that I would hate to be in a position that I'm sure, of course, so many people are. Imagine like to be hated. Like I would not do well to be a Jake Paul.
Okay, so I'm so proud to announce that Masterclass is a sponsor of the Good Guys podcast because I have used Masterclass since 2020. And I remember seeing the commercials and seeing these like titans from Gordon Ramsay to Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell, whose Masterclass I watched the whole thing while I was writing my book, Happy People Are Annoying, just to take even if I could just get like the smallest little hack or tidbit, which I did. Or other titans like Steve Martin, Chris Voss, who, by the way, was a hostage negotiator in his past life and now teaches business negotiation and tactics. That's right. I watched that one too. And you're probably like, Josh, you're an actor and you're a dad. Why do you need, hostage negotiation tactics? Because it wasn't that. I mean, he'll teach you everything from you trying to renegotiate your new contract at work to trying to get a better room at a hotel. But it was also so compelling to hear what an insane and crazy and intense life that this guy has led. So you're going to be able to access the mind and the teachings of true masters. This isn't hyperbole here. And when I saw the commercial, I remember thinking like, can this be? But it really is. I've been wanting to get better at screenwriting. So I've watched David Mamet's masterclass, Aaron Sorkin, and these people are true masters. And I always find myself taking away a few indelible sort of bits of information that will stay with me forever. And the lessons are broken up into these little like 10 to 15-minute lessons. And sometimes it's a dozen or 24 of these, but it's easy to sort of check in whether you're on the train or you have some downtime at work or just in between sort of work things and, better yourself, baby. Look, how much would it cost to take one class from the world's best? Well, with a Masterclass annual membership, it will only cost you $10 a month. Get unlimited access to every class. And right now, as a Good Guys listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/goodguys. That's masterclass.com/goodguys for 15% off an annual membership. Masterclass.com/goodguys. Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. That's right. That's Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. What is that? It's a probiotic. Are probiotics good? I think we know probiotics are good, but which one is right for you? You don't know. You're like me. You go to the store and there's 30 different brands and you're intimidated. And gut immune health is important because there's like 3.8 million posts on Instagram tagged with #gut health. Every person you talk to, every podcast you listen to, microbiome, the connection between your gut and your overall health is becoming more and more prevalent and part of the conversation. And you're like, I want to do something proactive. I want to be doing something for me, but I just don't know where to turn. Well, allow me to help you. I take the DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. It's the only probiotic I trust and take because it's scientifically validated. Because it's clinically studied. It's the next generation of probiotics for people. And by the way, for the planet. Look, Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic is a plant-based prebiotic and probiotic with 24 strains that have been clinically or scientifically studied for its benefits. It's allergen sort of free. It's free from 14 classes of allergens. That's allergen-free, but it's also sugar-free, vegan, soy-free, sesame-free, gluten-free. It just doesn't have any crap. And you are going to feel so good when taking yo craps after you take Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. Well, I don't know about you, but I just learned a lot. So join me in my gut health journey with Seed. Visit seed.com/goodguys and use code goodguys to redeem 30% off your first month of Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. That's seed.com/goodguys and use code goodguys. First of all, I think people like Jake Paul I think they understand something on a deeper level than we do. Frankly, they
Probably.
and I think he and Logan both subscribe. And it's wrestling, right? It's funny that Logan's in wrestling. It's the heel,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, I'm down to be hated just enough so that I get as many eyes on me as possible. Because
Yep.
I know plenty of he might get a little, he might get some shit from people. I also don't think Jake Paul's waiting in line anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you go like, oh, screw him, make him wait. You go like, that's Jake Paul, get him inside.
Right.
So he's kind of winning. What do you think, Ben? You're so smart with media and the way these things, and Ben's wife is a media genius. Like, what do you think?
It's a confidence thing with the Paul brothers. Like, that's their persona, that's their thing. They're always going to be that mysterious type of person. But we've spoken about a guy like David Dobrik, for example. Like, David, instead of taking what was some negativity and finding a way to make himself more famous, sort of retreated, owned the fact that it was a bad thing, and sort of went into less relevancy, right? Versus the Paul brothers use this no press is bad press mentality, fuel on the fire, build themselves bigger and bigger. I think it's just a difference of perspective, but they're also not, again, I don't know the Paul brothers, so I can't speak to if any of this is true or not, but it also takes a very specific, calculated person that can completely block out all of the noise to be like that. So you mentioned, Steve, that you're sensitive. I'm sensitive too. I don't like the idea of anybody talking negatively about me if it's not true. And I think that there are just some people that are, they're thicker skinned, and they put their careers before, I think, their karma. Is that like the right thing to say?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I disagree on one level, which is that I think I'd be more okay with people talking badly about me if it wasn't true. It's when they're saying negative stuff about me that I agree with that it hurts the most.
Yes, but even so, there's context, and you have to be so careful with the things, because to your point, when you were telling it in your act and you were explaining the full story, no one misunderstood. But of course, when they see it in a 10-second chunk, in a clip, and I think it's interesting too. What do you think of people like Dave Portnoy, who basically never shirks from defending himself, right? Like, any kind of intrigue or controversy happens, he addresses it immediately. He goes head to head with it. He goes, let me explain, or you're not seeing this. And it seems to have served him well.
I remember, I think it was when this last Jackass movie came out just over a year ago. I was asked the question by my publicist, are you okay with having a Barstool Sports interview, like as if it was just super radioactive, like toxic, like do not. And I remember being kind of caught off guard, and I think I was like, oh no, I'm cool with Barstool Sports. Like, I don't think I can't remember very well, and I don't know what the controversy was, but I do remember Mr. Portnoy got himself some hot water.
I think there's also something powerful with, like, Logan and Jake really, and comedians do this too, they really embraced making money in non-traditional ways, right? Like, if you're a stand-up, you slightly become uncancelable, because if people listen to your podcast, you're always going to get MeUndies or fucking, who does the men's,
you don't mean MeUndies, you mean My Pillow. My Pillow.
My Pillow. Like,
MeUndies is like, what the did we do?
You're gonna get Manscaped to promote your pod on your pod, and then if people are coming out to your live shows, like, you can literally be a millionaire and successful without having any of big business give you the nod. If your sole income is based on Fortune 500 companies or massive studios employing you, you better walk a really fine line, because you step out of line and it's done.
And that's why Portnoy is fascinating, because his revenue does rely on Fortune, maybe it's not 500, but Fortune 1,000 companies paying Barstool revenue. Of course, they have other revenue streams, and that's why he was so smart to start his sports book. Like, that was like a huge thing, right? And like having all these original shows, but that's why he's so fascinating, that he will take jabs at these huge corporations when they do have mainstream sponsors. But on the flip side, like a guy like Chappelle, he knows he's funny enough. He can go away for how many years, come back, rely solely on stand-up. And you're 100% right. That's the way to do it. Find a way to have these revenue streams. I mean, it's SteveO, what you did really forever, like making movies and doing pranks. And like, I think that sure, you need somebody to underwrite it, but ultimately, if you're not, like, these content creators are so beholden to these companies that they feel that they can't necessarily speak their own truths.
Yeah. I don't even know that comedians, I mean, just in general, the YouTube digital, like it's crazy how Jackass came out in year 2000, and for the next 13 years, I was like 100% at the mercy of corporate executives green lighting whatever the show or movie,
Viacom.
right, exactly. And I was given permission to work, and
Right.
and I would and it was, and then in 2013, for the first time, I learned how to edit footage properly on a computer, and I started a YouTube channel. And at that time, I felt like this was such a depressing demotion. Like, oh my God, like I've had multiple TV shows with my name in the title. I've had multiple number one theatrical box office movies. Like, now I'm going to upload. I'm gonna upload a YouTube video. It felt just like such a demeaning step backwards, and at the time I was just banging my head against a wall trying to like sell different projects and just getting flatly rejected everywhere I went. And I just turned to YouTube just as an exercise to stay sane, like let me just do something. And I had no idea how much that was gonna like represent a rebirth for me, like a full revolution for my career, and just me taking just control of my own stuff. And of all the Jackass guys that I came up with, I don't think any of the other guys did that, and
In general, I was thinking the other day, like, really, I mean, you think Knoxville, and really, like, you are the people who've been able to create their own sort of industry off the back of that fame, right?
Wee Man he became a restaurateur.
Tacos, right?
Yeah, Wee Man's got like I don't know, like somewhere between 50 and 100 restaurants.
Oh, I want Wee Man's life. Wee Man's got it figured out. Ben knows. Ben's in the alcohol business, Spritz Society. I mean, you're losing on two customers like me and SteveO. You're not going to make any dough from us. But oh man, I dream of having that business that isn't
Right.
associated with entertainment.
Right.
That's hot.
To get out of the attention whore business.
Yes. Yes.
Ironically, though, you use the attention whore business to build that business, so it's
Sure.
all stepping stones, right?
For sure. And the last thing I want to do is be disparaging of any of the other Jackass guys. I mean, like I believe that they're genuinely happier than me in most regards, because here, like, we're in this digital landscape, and it's just like the views, and it's so just like upsettingly democratic. You know exactly how much you're failing. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
the degrees to which you succeed, like success is short-lived and failure just looms as this black cloud of anxiety, and and like to be okay with, like, hey man, I'm genuinely jealous of a lot of my Jackass brothers for just not even subjecting themselves to that level of just anxiety and craziness that we endure. And at the same time, I'm incredibly grateful and proud for what I've been able to build on my own initiative with my own, me giving myself permission. I don't need anybody, and I just create.
The truth is, for my family, I don't contribute much, but what I do contribute is financial security for my wife, for my kids, for my mom, so that they can live a life and support me emotionally, mentally, mostly emotionally, because I'm a mess. And so I want to know that, God forbid, I'm not here one day, that the people I love most are going to be taken care of. And did you know that like 75% of consumers greatly overestimate the cost of life insurance per year? what people actually think costs over $50 a month can actually cost $20 a month, aka less than your car insurance or pet insurance or a dinner out on the town, or probably the lunch you're eating right now while listening to the great podcast Good Guys. Look, if you have people who depend on your income, don't leave them hanging. But also, maybe you're like, oh, I have no one. I just had a bad, first date. And so I literally am all alone on this earth. Well, it's not going to be forever. And if you're relatively young, enjoy it and get your finances in order, because life insurance is so much cheaper to lock in when you're young and healthy. All right. Now do you, baby? You know what I'm saying? Look, check out Quility. It's really where you're going to have the easiest, most streamlined experience. And in fact, Quility has created a special life insurance guide just for Good Guys listeners to visit. So go to quility.com/goodguys to learn more and match with your perfect policy. That's QUILITY.com/goodguys for more information. Be a good guy or gal and get life insurance for you and yours. Today's episode of the Good Guys podcast is brought to you by Element, which I am drinking right now because I need those electrolytes replenished, boy. Okay, whether you have an active lifestyle, maybe you had a couple glasses of wine last night, or you just, have a regular sort of workout schedule, nothing negative can come from replenishing your electrolytes. And I promise you, you're not getting that from just plain water. Look, Element is tasty. It has a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams magnesium, or as I like to call it, them cramp busters, boy. You know what I mean? Like, I used to get these crazy cramps after running, and I just felt like I needed something to sort of mitigate that, and that's where Element came into my life. Now, maybe you're dealing with, headaches, fatigue, a sleeplessness. All of those can be symptoms of electrolyte deficiency. So why not go with something like Element, which can fit into your keto, low carb, or paleo diet? It's only 10 calories and there's no junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. So right now, Element's offering my listeners a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single-serving packets free with any Element order. It's a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/goodguys. This deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/goodguys. Element offers no questions asked refunds. Try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, share it with a salty friend and they will give you your money back. No questions asked. You have nothing to lose. Does it? It kills me, and I'm dying to hear both of your opinions, especially you, SteveO, on these YouTube pranksters. These pieces of shit. They're no good. These guys. I'm talking about the guys who, because I think you've talked. Maybe you talked about it specifically, but overall, I think what we've learned so much more about Jackass over the last 20 years was it was always you going at each other.
Sure.
And it wasn't you going at strangers or civilians or people who weren't. We
would definitely target third-party civilians, but never in a fashion that was mean-spirited.
That's right.
And that's the line that we see so many people having crossed on YouTube. The idea of making people feel bad. And I'm super proud of the legacy that we have with Jackass. As counterintuitive as this sound, I really believe that it's wholesome for that very reason, because as hard of a time as we give, we give ourselves and each other a very hard time, but we're super attention whores and we love that. So it's permissible because we want what's happening to be happening. And it's just devoid of any kind of hatred or
malice.
Bigotry, malice. Like it's the spirit of Jackass is genuinely wholesome and positive, man. Like we're here to make people laugh and make their problems go away for a short time. And yeah, a lot of the pranks going on YouTube are very much the opposite of that.
How are people not getting killed? I guess they are. but I'll see some crazy things on, like the Fight Haven Twitter, shout out, where like people will, like pranksters will do something and people will have a real reaction, and all of a sudden it's coming to blows, threats, weapons, just because if you're a civilian, if I'm at Home Depot and you scream in my ear with a PVC pipe, I'm not a violent man, but I'm going to go redline. I'm going to go redline and stuff you for your views, or at least try to, and then get probably choked out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't even. Yeah, I can't even remember a time in recent, that I can't remember recently seeing something that upset me in that way.
Yeah,
But I'm sure it's out there.
Would you, Steve-O, would you ever, and apologies if you have, and I just didn't know, would you ever like fight someone like WWE or like, like these like celebrity fighters? Like you brought up Jake Paul. Like, I know it's like not necessarily in like the true vein of what you do, but I feel like would that ever be something that you'd entertain?
Shortly after getting that awful tattoo of the baby. Also in 2006, when we were promoting the second Jackass movie, we appeared on Monday Night Raw, and my comrade Chris Pontius, Party Boy, and I got in the ring and had a match with a wrestler named Umaga, also known as the Samoan Bulldozer. And it was...
It's kind of redundant or double negative, right? You think Samoan, you think bulldozer.
Right. I mean, dude, it was absolutely unbelievable. It sits on my YouTube channel, this reaction video of Pontius and I watching the match and reacting to it, as one of the most viewed things I've ever put on the internet. The worst beating I ever got. And what made it so just unbelievable was my ignorance. Number one, it was fascinating because we showed up and we did like a little bit of a rehearsal, like blocking through, like there's going to be this move, there's going to be that move, there's going to be, and in the rehearsal, like it all seemed pretty mellow, he's going to jump off the top ropes, this 300-pound guy, and I'm laying on the ground. He's going to jump off the top rope and like, it's called a splash, I think, like just jump up and him just land on top of me.
Yeah.
And that's the last move. That's when it's supposed to be over. But what I didn't know in my ignorance is that the match is you're supposed to play dead. You're not supposed to keep moving around. And I didn't know that. And when I get hit particularly hard, it's just built into me to react, So this final move, he jumps off the top rope and just crushes me. It was the most crushing impact. And I roll over. I'm like, oh, dude, like, oh, I'm like rolling around, reacting to it, but I'm not supposed to. And this reaction to his move is in the world of wrestling a sign of terrible disrespect. I like now I'm disrespecting him because I'm not playing dead, but I don't know that. So I'm in the ring and I'm rolling, and then he hits me again.
Steve was just screaming, "I respect you! I respect you!"
He hits me again, which is super weird to me because, as I understand it from the rehearsal, now it's supposed to be over. It's like, why are you still hitting me?
Right.
Like this is over. And
is he pulling his punches, or?
I mean, everything compared to the rehearsal was a whole other world. It was like, oh God, like what are we getting into? I kind of, I mean, I don't know, because we're the Jackass guys, where they like, but he's hitting me again, and I'm like, I'm like waving my arms at him, like stop, like no, and again, that's not okay. So he hits me again, and then I start, like, I put my hands together as like a praying sign, like, please stop, and he drops this elbow on my head that was the last thing I remembered. Like I was literally beaten into a blackout in the WWE ring, and it was evidently so disturbing what happened that they didn't even show. Like on the broadcast, they just cut to commercial. Like the Monday Night Raw logo flies in, and they stop showing it. And they never showed me leave the ring. I don't remember ever leaving the ring. Like I came to my next memory. I was in like the control room or something. Like I lost a lot of time just straight.
Did you ever talk to him after and say there was obviously a miscommunication?
He was actually super cool, man. He's since passed away. I believe he had a heart attack. But he was super, super cool. And I'm positive that I was able to communicate to him that I meant no disrespect. I was just ignorant.
Right.
And in hindsight, like even at the time, it was just obvious that made it so epic because like, say what you will about wrestling, you cannot say that match was fake, on any level.
I was going to say, for those that say that the WWE isn't real wrestling, talk to SteveO. That's incredible.
Hero Bread is so bomb. Hero Bread has cracked the code of how do we make regular, good old-fashioned, delicious bread that can go on a sandwich, if you need a tortilla, if you need a bun for that burger, but how can we make it like high fiber and ultra low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar? Well, Hero did that, right? They did that with their bread, and that's per slice. Remember, my son eats Hero Bread almost every day. I eat it couple times a week, and every time you bite into it, you're just going to get that familiar mouthfeel of your favorite kind of bread, and then your brain is going to be like, oh wait, I'm doing something good for myself. Like I don't have to trip on this, Sometimes I'll be making like a little BLT at lunch and I'll sub in Hero Bread, or maybe I'll use it for like a guilt-free French toast on the weekends. And they've got everything you need, like I said. Buns, tortillas, breads. You can go to hero.co or Amazon to get them, and it has fewer calories than the leading national brand. 5 grams of protein per slice. Oh, you're going to feel so good. Look, visit hero.co and use code GOODGUYS at checkout for 10% off your first purchase. That's hero.co. Use code GOODGUYS for 10% off your first order. Let me tell you something. You're going to love it. Shout out Hero Bread.
Yeah,
That's
and
incredible.
I mean, and what those people do is outrageously impressive. There's no way around that. And what Logan Paul is doing in that space seems to rise above what's going on in the space.
Yeah, he's like a savant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a wrestling prodigy. Is there anything like, that ever, scenes you shot for Jackass that ended up on the cutting room floor that, to your point, you were like, this feels too violent or it feels too extreme?
There was one thing very distinctly when we were filming the first Jackass movie in 2002. There was a kung fu legend named Gene LaBelle, and I want to say he was an Olympic, like a legend of the Olympics, like combat sports. Like Gene LaBelle was it, and he transitioned from like legitimate like judo fighting or whatever his combat sport was, and he got into stunts. And Ronda Rousey, quoted him as saying that he told her like every like real fight I got in, like I didn't make any money, but every fake fight I got in like made me like a very wealthy man.
Right.
like that it's saying that like his Hollywood career was much more lucrative for him than his combat sports career, and because he lived on both sides of the of that dynamic, they enlisted him. We shot with Gene LaBelle, and like the whole cast of Jackass, if not the whole cast, like the majority of us, were just standing in a row, and Gene LaBelle masterfully like came behind each of us, like the rear naked choke and choked us unconscious, and he did it so fast. I just it's just totally odd. But the one guy just rear naked choke, like puts him, lays him down on the floor, and then the next guy, he just went down the line and choked everybody completely unconscious, laid us down on the floor. We all woke up like, whoa, and that was deemed too dark and too imitatable. That's another piece that So,
Yeah, what are the rules? Too imitatable?
yeah, imitatability is a big one. If it's something that kids can easily, replicate on their own, then there's a much bigger sense of liability around it. And I guess just like the spirit of it, I don't know. Like they just didn't like it. Spike Jonze didn't like that. Like none of the powers that be liked that. I don't think it came from even Paramount. I just think it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't feel right.
Right, it didn't feel right. But however, Ryan Dunn, God rest his soul,
Bless him.
having had that experience with Jean LaBelle, just came away from that experience feeling himself educated and qualified to start choking people out himself. So we would be on tour, and Ryan Dunn would say, like, hey, to the audience, like, who wants to come up and get on stage and get choked out? And people would be like all about it. And I was so insanely uncomfortable with that. Like, please, God, for the love of God, Ryan, don't do this.
Oh man!
But he would do it. I would leave the stage. I would want no part in it. Dunn would choke people out, and it looked very much like what Jean LaBelle did. He was actually pretty good at it.
Well, you do it enough times,
right?
Learning curve.
And God, that was the year of 2003. Dunn's choking people out on stage. We're on tour. We went on tour through like 12 different countries. On the back of the first Jackass movie's release. And this was like the craziest heyday. Like Jackass the movie, like Jackass had been like big on MTV, and then the movie was bigger than anything, and the movie comes out and we're just like on this world tour, like thousands of people at the shows. Like it was really, I was in like the craziest levels of addiction, like and everything was just permissible at that time. I could be awake for days and days on drugs, and like nobody was upset about that. Like it was just, that's what was going on.
Who's getting you the drugs when you're on tour?
Who isn't? I mean, who like getting drugs on tour was always incredibly easy. But one day, while on tour in the UK, just going around England, I was just awake for enough days in a row. I was probably on maybe going into my third day of being awake, and I was feeling self-conscious, that it was just all feeling like Groundhog's Day. Same show, same thing, same everything, and like there wasn't like really epic high level content being filmed for my Too Hot for TV DVD series.
I own those.
and so one day I just said, you know what, done. Today we're filming you choking me out. We're putting it out there. Be damned if it's too dark. Too dark for Jackass doesn't apply to the don't try this at home. And so Dunn not only choked me out, and then I'm like, do it again. He choked me out 6 times in one day, and each time, at first he was laying me down like Jean LaBelle did. Then he was just kind of letting go. By the end, he's like, I'm unconscious. He's just throwing me, and I'm just like, it was bad.
What does that feel like?
And I put it out. and I put it out. I even to this day, I kind of celebrate like the dark stuff and what's goes beyond the Jackass stuff. Like what's too hot for Jackass is often perfectly okay with me.
What does that feel like? Like, is there any fear in it? And
Oh my
is
God.
that
I did
Yeah.
it. I did my farewell choke out like 2 weeks ago. Did you see it on like TMZ and stuff?
No.
I did see it.
Yeah, right in the middle. Dude, this was covered by Sports Illustrated,
You've made it.
TMZ.
Michael
like,
Jordan swiping on Instagram and he sees Sports Illustrated. He's like, is this the shit I was on?
Daily Mail. I mean, it was one of these like super viral publicity jackpots, and God, do I? I'm a big UFC fan, so I go to the events a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And in a lot of the non-pay-per-view UFC events take place at
Apex.
the Apex. Yeah. So this was 2.5 weeks ago. And Angela Hill versus Mackenzie Dern is the headlining bout. I'm in the Apex. Steve Will Do It of the Nelk Boys is there.
I did see this. Okay.
I'm like, I say to Steve, yeah, let's get some content. You know, like when I get together with Steve Will Do It, and we, you know, it's always I come up with something that's outside of his comfort zone, and I get him to do it.
We gotta get to that side of SteveO, Ben.
Yeah.
That's what we gotta do. We gotta bump this. Steve will do it. Ben will do it. Ben will run at it.
By the way, Ben won't do it.
Ben should be your name. Ben won't do it.
I had my tour bus out in Vegas, and I'm just like, you know, like I love it. You know, I flew out the tour bus driver. I'm like, hey, we're going to Vegas for the weekend. We're just gonna have fun. So, but after the fights, my bus is going back to LA. So I tell Steve, we'll do it. Like, hey, you know, like we should do something epic, but it's got to be here, and I got to go right away after the fight. So I was just like, dude, we should get choked out in the octagon, you know. And so I see the number 3 contender in the middleweight division, Marvin Vettori. Yeah, I love this guy. I'm like, hey, Marvin, you down to choke us out? And he's like, hell yeah, dude. You know? And then I'm like, all right, well, let's go check with actually, you know, like the UFC people. And they were like, yeah, sure. After the fight, man, go for it, man, whatever, you know?
Wow. I'm so surprised.
I know. But I mean, like, it's actually not that dangerous of a thing. What's dangerous is if you fall down and hit your head.
Sure.
You know, but if you get laid down, like, it's not that big of a deal. It happens all the time in fights. But the problem is that I have a condition in my cervical spine, my neck. I've got degenerative disc disease, where the space in between the vertebrae is like diminishing, you know, like it's a degenerative thing, and like I can feel like my neck's not good.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, like, dude, getting choked out and laid down, like I asked Mike this. We got Marvin Vettori's choking out, Steve Will Do It, and you know, former world champion, Hall of Famer Michael Bisping's choking me out. And I asked him, like, you know, I was like, you know, my neck's not that good, and you know, we're getting ready, we're joking around. He asked Steve Will Do It, how old are you? And Steve Will Do It's 24. They asked me how old are you? I'm like 48. And like, as I said, I'm 48 years old. Like, it just really struck me. God, I've aged out of this, man. I shouldn't, like, this is not something that I should be doing. And sure enough, man, like, I didn't know what was going on. He choked me out. And to answer your question, it is super creepy. It's like everything about, like, not being able to breathe and being strangled until you're unconscious that you think is creepy. You know, like, it's exactly as creepy as you would imagine. It's like when oh, I can't breathe. Like, you can try to breathe, but you're not gonna breathe, and like you're being strangled until you lose consciousness. Like, imagine how creepy it is, and that's what it is. But everything just goes dark. You don't even know, and then you come back to. And it's eerily similar to
Whippets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it's eerily similar to Whippets.
Ben, you don't know how me and SteveO roll.
Yeah, and I remember, like, I woke up. Yeah, I came to, didn't know what was going on. I hear people asking, "Are you okay?" I don't know what they're talking about, and before I put together that I'm in the octagon and I just got choked out already, my neck's just not okay, man. I'm like, and I'm like, and then I realize where I'm at, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh dude, that was awesome. And I get up and I hug Michael Bisping, but really I'm just thinking, dude, my neck is just not good. And I'm automatically having like these like terrorizing, like just
Neck surgery.
thoughts of just vertebrae being fused together, and I was just in a really dark like panic, you know, like a really just I was very upset about it for like a couple days, and then all of a sudden it just felt better than ever before. Like I was like, wow. Michael Bisping's like a chiropractor. Now it's kind of back.
He snapped it back into place.
Yeah, I mean now like I don't know. Now it's just back to just being like what it is. I'm not concerned, and I'm glad I did it because I'm that much of an attention whore.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and for all the times that I've been choked out prior to that, I had Chuck Liddell choke me out in the mountains of Peru. There is no news stories about that. You know, on my first comedy special, I had Tim Kennedy of the UFC.
Sure.
He choked me out. There were no news stories. When Ryan Dunn did it 6 times in a row all those years ago.
You made it.
This was the farewell choke out, and we made it count.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
What an honor.
I don't ever need to do that again. And I can't say that with my neck, like with like that people ask me frequently, like, how's your body holding up? Do you like wake up? Do you have aches and pains? Like, if all the damage, the accumulation of all the damage, is it affecting you? And up until recently, my answer has been that I'm in surprisingly good shape given what I've gone through. And now, like, I'm feeling it more, you know? And I think a lot of it's probably, like, pretty normal for, like, a 48-year-old dude. Like, notwithstanding like what's going on with my neck and my shoulders just acting up. I threw the first pitch at a Major League Baseball game.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that one too. but just my shoulders a mess. Yeah, like I'm like even practicing because I wanted to get it right. I didn't want to pull a Baba Booey, you know. and just practicing just hurt my shoulders. So like. I don't know, man. It's a little bit upsetting for me that I feel my body is starting to
degenerate.
Yeah, really, really starting to degenerate. But I'm at the same time really excited about that because my next show, you know, I'm wrapping up this tour that I've been on, the bucket list tour, and my next show that I'm putting together is generally like an analysis of SteveO confronting middle age and the breaking down of my body.
Yeah. It's intense. I feel it in I have like a knee thing.
How old are you?
36.
Okay.
So I'm like, but I got 2 kids. It'll age you quicker.
Right.
And it's like, it's just wild. Young Ben's only 30.
31. 31. It puts me into a different class. I just needed to clarify the 31.
Yeah.
I have some neck problems. I find that now when I go to sleep, I wake up, my arm is, if I slept on my arm wrong, I'm completely fucked for the whole day. Like
yeah, it's gnarly, right? Like I've got that going on right now too. Like where you breathe in, so it's like there's some kind of, you feel like you pulled a muscle.
Yeah.
You as a sober guy getting choked out and feeling that whippets hit, does it feel like a freebie?
I think so.
That's how I would feel.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are you doing later? You want to choke each other?
I don't want anything to do with that. But, you know, it's interesting you bring that up. And I remember we spoke about sobriety. At quite a length and
yes.
on your last podcast. And I remember I was either getting ready to or I just had filmed this bit where I was having like fully stolen general anesthesia drugs injected into my vein while I was riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like,
oh my God.
Like I said, I'm okay with the dark stuff. That was one of my. That's for this tour that I'm wrapping up right now. And if anybody listening is listening from London, England, I'm actually taping the bucket list special in London, England, at the Hackney Empire. And as this comes out, it'll be imminent. I'm taping it on July 14th, and looking to add a show on July 13th, which means I need to promote.
Go get
Steve,
tickets. The UK folks, go get tickets.
But when I told you about the general anesthesia bike ride thing,
yes,
like as a sober guy, I remember like coming away with it thinking, man, like in the context of sharing it with you, a sober guy, and like kind of describing what it was, and what, involving just, not medically, not only not medically necessary, but like completely illegal, and,
Sure.
and for like, and I just remember coming away from that context with you, and wondering if I should be questioning. If not, actually, I was questioning my integrity as a sober guy.
It's interesting.
And now it's been a number of years since then. I did it in consultation. There was no secrets about it.
Yeah, you talked to sober guys.
For sure, I shared it with my home group. Like there was no secrecy, and I was very clear on what my motives were. This was not like seeking to get loaded. This was seeking to get footage, on a professional level to do a stunt.
I had a moment like that too at like 23, 24 years old, where I'd gotten to the point where, like, being that young and getting sober at 21, where I could still have a good time and do the things that young people want to do, which is like, hook up and still have fun experiences while doing it sober. And I'd found a good balance of, like, it's certainly not a big part of my life, but every now and then I'm going to go out while people are getting blasted and just kind of be around, right? Yeah. And I remember I was at a party I probably in theory would have loved to be at a different time in my life, where there were porn stars running around and people doing nose beers and
sniffle snacks.
Yeah, booger sugar, the devil's dandruff. I heard a darker one the other day that injecting heroin can be called arm beers, which I thought was a little
arm darts.
Arm darts. There was no arm darting, but there was plenty of nose beers and just people. And I had that exact same thought of, what would the guys of my sober home group think of me being here, while, like, and not even a judgment on the people doing it, because they're having their own trip,
Sure.
their experience. It's more about, like, what are you doing here, Josh?
Well, right. I mean, in our literature, it describes that to a T.
Yeah.
You got to ask yourself, what's your motivation for being there? Like, do you have a legitimate reason for being in this environment, or are you seeking to somehow vicariously experience the party?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, because we do some news stories on the show, and there was this one news story that felt like having an expert like you.
Can I guess? Like, sorry if I'm just being rude at this point and cutting you off. And I've been improving a little bit with my conversational etiquette, but I've been slipping off as we've gotten deeper in this. I just feel compelled, though, to bring up just what an obvious thing. I almost feel like we'd be doing your listeners a disservice if we didn't draw a comparison between, like, and I don't know, like, much of the details, but I'm vaguely familiar with you having worked with somebody in the past who, like, has just gone into a dark place and is in a dark place, and somebody I worked with in the past, yes, in a dark place, like.
Yeah.
And we're the sober guys, and we have these people that we're so closely linked to, professionally in our past, who just weren't so lucky. They haven't been able to get it.
And something recently today happened with Bam, right?
Yeah, locked up in 5150.
I actually was going to ask you about a kid who's a 15-year-old kid whose photos, he sent nude photos to a girl, and now he's being sexually blackmailed. And I wanted to say, well, you've shown your penis a lot in photos.
Right.
But no.
And by the way, credit to you for not automatically bringing up the Bam situation. Like that's just classy on your part, and I'm not like I'm kind of an open book. I'll talk about whatever. But
Obviously, it's something. There's a new layer to it today. It's there. Yeah, I mean, to your point, I don't want to lead you in any way.
Sure.
So what are you feeling?
I mean, I brought Bam on tour with me at the beginning of this year, January. It was kind of like a Hail Mary pass. Like, I just felt like, man, just let me just bring him on tour with me, keep him close to me, show him how, like, great my life is, how not boring it is to be a sober guy, like, to help him, like, put together an act. He can open up the show and do like 10 minutes, and I'll work with him on that, and maybe that'll be like the beginning of what could become his own act that he could like legitimately tour with in comedy clubs maybe. And while I had him on the road, like I was really like just kind of chipping away at him, like I was my bros on the tour are sober guys,
right?
Like we're on like a tour bus full of sober guys.
Yeah, you're hoping you're planting the seeds so that a truth forest blooms sometime soon.
Right, and just trying to urge him to see his part, like I was telling him like, hey man, every time that you're pointing your finger as something being a problem, I want you to understand that it is the direct result of the underlying issue. I said you're pointing at the top of the pile of problems.
Yeah.
Which have been piling up as a result of your drinking.
Yeah.
And every time you complain about something, I'm going to tell you, bam, top of the pile. You're pointing to the top of the pile.
You stepped on toes and people retaliated.
Yeah.
Yes.
And every time you point at the top of the pile, I want to redirect you to the bottom of the pile, the root cause.
Yeah. Ooh, that could be the name of his tour. Bottom of the pile. Bam Margera.
Yeah. And I just tried so hard, and he did stay sober. We did, like put together. I helped him put together like an entertaining 10 minutes. He was doing great, and by the end of the tour, he was going out on stage alone, as opposed to me with him. The last night that we were together on tour, he brought his 5-year-old son out on stage with him. Like it just happened to be that the last stop was in like Central California, where his estranged wife was living or is living, I'm not sure, but like it just ended. So she came to the show with the boy. And like he was doing well enough for the 10 days that we'd been on tour together, that the estranged wife said, "Hey, go ahead and go ahead and stay, spend a couple days with your boy."
Yeah.
And like so we left without him, and as soon as the tour bus rolled out without him, and he's got this opportunity to be with his boy, like he checks into a hotel room and just gets completely hammered.
Yeah.
And it was like 4, 5, 6 in the morning that he's still up and takes to Instagram to post some vile attack against Johnny Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine. Like, and I was just like, I remember that went up, like I said, like 4, 5, 6 in the morning. And I was just kind of like ruminating on it like that whole next day. And his post had been up for like 20 hours, 22 hours or something. And I was like, and I just wrote a comment. I was like, Bam, dude, like, I can't remember what I wrote, but it was something to the effect of like, I've really tried everything I can. And as much as I want to make you want to get better, like I just recognize that I can't make you want to get better. And it sucks because I wish I could, but bro, you're dying, dude. And there's nothing I can do, and it sucks. And like,
yeah.
And I posted this as a comment on his Instagram. I showed it to my girl, like the second she goes, "That's something you should just say to Bam." And I was like, yeah, you're right. I deleted it. It was up for like less than 2 minutes. and somebody
Done.
screenshotted it,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
ends up on TMZ, and you know,
It's funny. You say that because me and my buddy, there were three of us who grew up together, and two of us are sober, and our other buddy just wasn't lucky enough. And I remember he had like had a year sober, and he was like just doing great. He was just doing great, and then he wasn't. And I remember he like got it together for my boy's wedding, and he kind of reappeared, and then wasn't, and then he kind of came back around, and finally he looked at my friend and was like, I love you a lot, but this is probably the last time we're ever going to see each other. And it was right. It was like so, I mean, it was just prophetic. It was like he was just predicting the future, and it's exactly what was going to happen to a guy like him. But I think we should,
Wow.
we do this one thing in closing of every episode. We call it the what are you nuts moment of the week. And it's basically your gripe, your annoyance, anything. It could be big or small with the world, people, places, and things. So take a minute, think about whatever your thing is. There, no answer is too small or too big.
Yeah.
Ben, do you have one ready?
Yeah, it's again going from such a powerful powerful discussion right into what are you nuts. But yeah, I have noticed I am getting in an Uber going from my apartment downtown. I'm getting in an Uber going from my apartment to the airport, and all of a sudden, automatically, it's $150. So my what are you nuts is, what the hell is going on with Ubers and transportation? You can call it inflation. I call it greed. As a native New Yorker, I'm going back to yellow cabs because it seems
Good.
to happen this way, where once every 3 years, the yellows are cheaper, the Ubers are cheaper, the yellows are cheaper, the Ubers are cheaper. Now the Ubers are 3 times the yellows, and I won't stand for it anymore. So what are you nuts? Uber, too expensive, moving to yellow cabs.
Well, my what are you nuts moment, and I really love that, Ben, and I agree with you, is, I have a little 4-year-old son, and I don't like when people put any kind of romance in quotes on kids, like, oh, she's his little girlfriend, or he's her boyfriend. I don't like this. I think it sets kids up in like a weird way. I know it's mostly innocent, but like when parents do that, when a boy and a girl are friends and they call each other their little boyfriend and girlfriend, I think it's weird. And you know what else annoys me? My son, I'll have friends who have little girls who are my son's age, and my son will be sweet to them because I've created him to be sweet. And they'll go, whoa, don't be too sweet to her. I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to beat you up when you're 16, Max. Like, almost as if like, one day your son's going to go after my daughter and I'm really going to have to, give you one. And I want to be like, you think my son would want to date your daughter? Trust me, he's not interested.
Tramp.
That
She's
you
a tramp.
that you think your daughter could get a catch like my son. So, what are you nuts to calling little kids boyfriends and girlfriends?
you
I'm not a
nuts?
fan.
I like it. I had one just then. I'm gonna have really minor ones.
Good.
Here.
Miner's the best kind of what are you nuts.
I can't stand do not disturb signs on hotel room doors. You hang it on the hotel room door, but all you got to do is just gently open up the door to make it fall off. It falls
Such
off.
a good point.
Yes,
Like,
it is.
I mean, you hang on the do not disturb sign. Like, I am, to an extent, a public figure. Like, but everywhere I go, like, I am public property. Like people, photos. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It comes with the territory. But like, I don't enjoy privacy the way normal people enjoy privacy. And so when I'm in my hotel room, like that's kind of a really sacred space. It's like my one, like now, like I'm like in this hotel room, I'm not public
Yeah,
property.
unplug.
I'm not, and I don't want anybody in that space. I don't want anybody coming in. I just like, I don't want towels. I don't want no, I just want to leave me alone.
Yeah.
And so that do not disturb sign is important to me. And when I hang it on the doorknob and then open up the door, and it falls right off. It drives me nuts.
Word
What are you,
to
nuts?
every housekeeper at every Marriott in the continental United States. Don't go into SteveO's room.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I used to, and I'm gonna add this to my carry-on bag. Bring a roll of tape to physically tape that do not disturb sign to
That's
the door.
not creepy at all.
Just SteveO, thanks so much for joining us. This was great. Everybody buy tickets to SteveO's tour. Mention the UK shows.
And
SteveO,
check
what
out
else can we-
SteveO's pod.
Yep.
Yeah, I have something that you don't know, but Josh and I have discussed getting an episode of my Wild Ride podcast in the can and uploading them simultaneously, so we can now drive everybody to the
Good
Wild Ride.
Guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, Good Guys will do a nice little.
Love it. A nice
Interchange.
podcast swap.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's always good for the health of both podcasts to drive traffic to each other.
Oh yeah,
So,
I love it. I'm all in. So
Check out SteveO's podcast. I'm going to be on SteveO's. The link will be in the description.
yep. And as always, remember to rate, review, and subscribe. I mean, this podcast, it's got to be 5 stars. Otherwise, what are you, nuts?